Let's go Broncos! The Broncos just made a move that almost no one expected, but the more you analyze it, the more it makes sense. We're talking about a three-time All-Pro, a former team captain, a player with deep ties to Sean Payton and Darren Rizzi, and he's now officially a Denver Bronco. This isn't just about adding depth. This is about reshaping the identity of one of the weakest parts of our team. And the timing of this move? It couldn't be more perfect. Before I give you the full analysis, and believe me, you'll want all the context behind this decision, be sure to like this if you're a fan of the orange and blue. And if you've been with the Broncos for over 20 years, leave a comment saying, "Go, Broncos!" My heart bleeds orange and blue. Let's comment and show this team that Broncos country is always watching and always investing. Now, buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal could be a major turning point in the Broncos season. Now, let's talk about JT Gray. You might be asking, who is this guy? And that's fair. He's not a flashy name you'll see on ESPN's top 10, but make no mistake, this is a core addition. Gray went undrafted back in 2018 and clawed his way into the league with the New Orleans Saints, where he became a staple on special teams. He's officially listed as a safety, but make no mistake, he's here in Denver for one reason, to shore up and transform our special teams unit, which has had its fair share of missteps this season. Let's get real for a second. Denver's special teams have been a liability in several moments. Take the game against the Jets, for example. We gave up great field position multiple times on big returns. That's not just frustrating, it's dangerous for a team that wants to control tempo and field position. And who could forget that chaotic fake punt situation? Everyone saw it coming, and yet the Broncos looked like they were scrambling to even get the right personnel on the field. It was sloppy, unorganized, and exactly the type of thing Sean Payton and special teams coordinator Darren Rizzi want to eliminate. That's where JT Gray comes in. This isn't just a player pickup, it's a reunion. Gray was a beloved figure in New Orleans, especially under Payton and Rizzi, who know exactly what he brings to the table. His leadership, his ability to execute under pressure, and his skills as a gunner are exactly what this Broncos team needs to steady the ship on special teams. And this isn't some speculative connection. Gray has ex-teammates already in Denver, coaches who trust him, and a system he's comfortable in. The fit couldn't be better. It's also important to highlight that Gray didn't just fall into our lap. He was actually cut by the Saints' new regime back in August. At the time, Denver didn't have a spot for him, even though the connections to the staff were clear. He chose to sign with the Ravens practice squad instead. But now, with a spot finally available, the Broncos made their move, and it's one that could pay off in a big way. This is someone who's been a captain, who's earned All-Pro honors, and who understands what it takes to execute in the smallest, most overlooked, but crucial, phases of the game. Let's also talk leadership. Special teams isn't glamorous, but it requires discipline, grit, and communication. JT Gray brings all three. He's been a captain, he's seen playoff football, and he's been part of a well-coached, competitive roster under Payton before. Bringing in a voice like his into the locker room is only going to lift the standard and sharpen the unit. Sean Payton clearly trusts this guy. Darren Rizzi clearly trusts this guy. And now, the Broncos are giving him a shot to bring that same energy and leadership to a team that needs every edge it can find as it pushes through a tough season. This isn't about headlines, it's about hidden value. It's about reinforcing the foundation that often goes unnoticed but can swing the outcome of games. Because here's the thing, when a coach like Sean Payton brings in his guy, it usually means something. JT Gray isn't just a random pickup from a practice squad. He's a calculated addition, one that fits right into the mold of what Payton is trying to reestablish in Denver: accountability, structure, and high-level execution in all three phases of the game. This team is not just rebuilding, it's reshaping its identity, and Gray is part of that blueprint. We've seen far too often how one blown coverage or one missed tackle on special teams can shift the entire momentum of a game. And with Denver's margin for error being razor thin this season, those hidden yards and special teams breakdowns cannot be ignored any longer. JT Gray is the kind of player who erases those mistakes. He's not going to show up on your fantasy football app, but he's going to show up in game film. He's going to beat his man down the field, make the open field tackle, and help flip the field position in Denver's favor. That's the kind of stuff that wins games. Let's also talk about the locker room dynamic. Denver has a young and evolving roster, but leadership on special teams has been lacking. Remember, Gray was not just an all-pro player, he was a team captain. That speaks volumes about how he's perceived by teammates and coaches. You don't get that kind of respect by accident. You earn it through consistency, professionalism, and production. Adding someone with that kind of locker room presence can only elevate the young guys trying to find their role on this team. You also have to wonder what this means for some of the players currently on the edge of the roster. When a guy like JT Gray comes in, it could put pressure on others who've been underperforming in coverage or return units. This move could shake things up in that third phase of the game, and maybe that's exactly what Denver needs. Competition breeds excellence, and right now, the Broncos are desperate to find that competitive edge. There's a psychological component here too. When the locker room sees a guy coming who's been in the trenches, who knows what Sean Payton demands, it sets a tone. It's a reminder that if you're not performing, there's someone out there who will. That kind of internal pressure helps keep everyone sharp. JT Gray isn't just being added to fill a hole, he's coming in to raise the floor of this team's special teams unit and, maybe, its overall intensity. It's also worth watching how quickly he integrates into the scheme. Because of his long history with both Payton and Rizzi, you can bet he's not going to need much of a learning curve. This is plug and play at its finest. Expect to see him on the field almost immediately, especially considering the urgent need to clean up the coverage units. The Broncos can't afford to be giving away hidden yardage anymore. Not when every possession counts. Not in this AFC. And look, this isn't going to be the kind of transaction that gets talked about on national sports shows, but real fans, true Broncos fans, understand how critical these types of moves can be. When your team is trying to climb out of the middle of the pack and into playoff contention, every detail matters. JT Gray is a detail guy. He doesn't miss assignments. He doesn't need to be coached hard every week. He brings consistency, intensity, and that New Orleans edge that Sean Payton loves. And here's another layer to think about. This move could be the beginning of a bigger shift in how the Broncos approach roster management under Sean Payton. When you look at the DNA of successful teams, especially the ones that go deep into the postseason, they're not just top-heavy with star power. They're built with glue guys, quiet professionals, players who might not generate headlines, but who do the dirty work, week in and week out. JT Gray fits that mold perfectly. He's not flashy, but he's fearless. He brings discipline to an area where Denver has lacked consistency for far too long. And don't underestimate the impact he can have on younger players. Guys like De'Aaron Turner-Yell, Riley Moss, or even Drew Sanders can learn a lot just by watching how Gray prepares, how he communicates, how he stays mentally sharp even when he's not in the spotlight. That mentorship role is something Payton values immensely, especially as he tries to instill a culture of accountability and preparation. The signing of JT Gray is about more than just one guy. It's about building a winning culture, brick by brick. Broncos country, are we witnessing the early foundations of something bigger? Could this be the kind of move we look back on as a turning point for Denver's special teams unit? JT Gray's arrival in Denver is not just a player transaction, it's a message. A message that Sean Payton is not here to play games when it comes to cleaning up the little things that have plagued this team for years. This is about precision. It's about trust. It's about elevating every inch of this roster, not just with flashy starters, but with foundational pieces who can change the tone of the locker room. And Gray is exactly that kind of piece. The Broncos' special teams unit hasn't just been inconsistent, it's been a liability in key moments. We're talking missed assignments, poor lane discipline, soft coverage on punts and kickoffs. And then there was that completely botched fake punt scenario where the entire sideline looked confused. That's the kind of chaos that gets you beat. That's the kind of mistake that championship teams don't make. JT Gray is here to help eliminate that noise. This is a player who knows exactly what Sean Payton demands because he's lived it. He survived in one of the most detail-oriented environments in the NFL under Payton and special teams coordinator Darren Rizzi. Those two know him. They trust